An album a day is my exploration into the Korean music scene. This podcast will cover mainstream, indie, and some underground artists within the scene and provide both factual and opinionated commentary. The biggest benefit to sharing my thoughts this way is that it will hopefully expose you to more great music and exploration of your own. My favorite part about all of this is how long I've been waiting to get to final moments so that I could tell y'all all these extra ramblings that's going on within my mind. That sentence, what was that? Just a couple of housekeeping things. Just want to let you know that we are in the final stages of development for the actual live stream part of the show where we're able to have guests, and it's exciting. We're doing rehearsals this week to kind of troubleshoot, and then you can see my face when I'm doing all this ridiculous rambling. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and get into this.
You're tuned into an album a day. Show, start.
Welcome to Final Thoughts, a 100% unscripted closing for today's artist. Enjoy select songs from the discography of today's artists and more when you search for the hashtag A3Day Highlights playlist on Spotify. Anchor.fm listeners will hear select songs from today's artist during this episode. As always, patrons of an album a day have exclusive access to my private playlist, but please remind me to update it. I'm bound to forget. Let's get started. We got to the end and it was enjoyable. It genuinely was. There was a lot of energy behind the ladies. The concepts were cute or very sassy. You know, they gave you enough. They gave you enough to want to see them come back. But something that I've been flipping and flopping on for a long time, particularly before this episode even happened, before I ever knew I was going to do some kind of podcast like this, I always wondered, you know, if there really is something to these groups not standing the test of time. Now, being a fan, you're just like, oh my God, I want them to be together forever. And that's not realistic. It's genuinely not realistic. But even more so, are these groups concluding at the right time, at the wrong time? Isn't there another way that this could be approached? Like, can't they take a hiatus, not formally break up, and then come back and do like tours later on for the fans who still long for them? Or is there genuinely an expiration date for an idol group? Is there genuinely an expiration date for a girl group? And I think some of this was more so by design than it was about the animosity that I'm not gonna lie, I thought that there was a little bit of it when everything came undone for the group. Their disbandment was just as jolting as 21's was, but the difference with that was 21 was there a difference? Let's be real. Let's take a moment to think about this. Was there actually a difference? Okay, when that all came undone, we were coming off of a controversy with one member. Another member had already departed. So we had two who were still there who were on contract for a while. One who was doing more so acting and not even being active in the Korean audience for the most part. And the other one still tied down heavily until she could be free. That was a month before 4Minute. Not even a full month at that. And then you get 4Minute the next month and we hear that the entire group has decided to move on, with the exception of Hyuna. She re-signed her contract. And I low-key alluded to it like, all right, look, like a part of it feels like because she had built the clout of Cube Entertainment on her back, and I'm not saying she's the only artist there, like, don't get me wrong, she wasn't the only other artist, but she was by far one of the most bankable, if not the most bankable, prior to G-Idol, A-Pink, like, on her own, she really had the entirety of Cube Entertainment on her back. We associated with Rain to an extent. We associated with Joe Quan to an extent. You might not even realize he was signed there, but he is. You had Beast or Highlight. You have Pentagon. I had to really think for a moment. My brain farted. Pentagon, CLC, B2B, A-Pink, G-Idol. Like, you got names now. You got groups that people appeal to, but people signed up for 4Minute, and they signed up particularly for Hyuna. She really had the label on her back. Beast was doing what they could. They were doing well. Rain don't need no help. But she was a driving force. And I think that based on vocals, they reached a limit that they reached a limit that implied that it couldn't go any further. I want you to hear, for those of you who listen to this on the Anchor FM app, I want you to be able to hear a little bit of some songs, some snippets. So I'm going to sprinkle those in right quick before I come back around and talk about what I mean when I say, in terms of vocals, they had reached the limit of where they were going to go. Okay, I was wrong. My for whatever reason, I can't log into the Spotify premium account, but whatever, if you go on Spotify and you go in the search area and you look for the hashtag A3Day highlights playlist, you'll be able to hear some bops from them anyway. Let me get on to what I gotta say, because my phone is about to die and I'm too lazy to hook up the microphone to the laptop. Their vocals never expounded. Their vocals never grew. Individually, they may have gained more breath control in terms of delivery, but based on tone, based on pitch and things of that sort, they never grew as a group. And when you don't have any form of growth, any change in harmony, composition, or any of that, what are we doing, really? When you look at it in that regard, you're not giving yourself an opportunity to diversify. Their writing definitely did. They had more things to say that portrayed a woman of confidence and of sex appeal and things of that sort as they became older and their discography grew. But the same vocal dexterity, the same vocal strength from their debut year shouldn't still be hitting 6 albums in, you know? So I feel like there was a limitation in that. There's only so long where we're going to be able to accept the fact that there's nothing else going on. The videos are electrifying. The visuals are stunning. But y'all are just okay singers. That doesn't take away from the fact that they were solid entertainers. Absolutely doesn't take away from it. You don't have to be an amazing singer to be an amazing entertainer. What you have to be able to do is have a solid team around you that can help you produce hits. And they had some hits. They had some numerically justifiable hits and some fan favorites. So given the circumstance that I can't sprinkle this with a little extra music and I kind of said what I needed to say, I'm going to just go ahead and give y'all my overall ranking. The overall A3Day ranking for 4Minute is a 4.5. Yes, they had some very good albums and whatnot, but they got a 4.5 because there was never any real vocal growth. And I can't give you a solid 5 if it constantly sounds exactly the same. That's not saying production is exactly the same. They tried a lot of different things. They definitely had a pocket and they was in it. They was in a bag. They stepped in it in high heels. But their vocals never did evolve enough for them to be considered powerhouses or even genuinely memorable beyond the singles. And that sucks. That sucks to put so much energy into a career and possibly be an afterthought for newer generation fans to come. That's all I got to say. I got real smart. Thought I was going to have some music. I tinkered with it for a while. I'm like, man, if they could see how long I've been sitting here trying to sync up, they would just say, let it go. And I did. So when we return, we are going to be in a new group's discography. Let me look at it now. We're going to be in a group called 410. I don't know nothing about them. I just know we're slowly making our way out of the numbers and heading towards the alphabet, and I'm really excited for that because there's some newer artists that I'll be hearing genuinely for the first time. So yeah, let's just keep it going. Let's run along until we just can't run together anymore. All right? We'll catch y'all in the next episode. Bye, y'all.
Your favorite foreign Korean music historian exploring all the industry from A to Z.
There's sponsored ads and social media hashtags, but this show is truly supported by the efforts of my McGualas, the most amazing fan base a little entertainer could ever have. Special shout out to my Patreon patrons, the student body, and the scholars who keep my vision of becoming your favorite Korean music historian exploring all the industry from A to Z a real thing. If you're interested in supporting the growth of this podcast and supporting content, please visit patreon.com/multifacetedacg. And for as little as $1 a month, you can get in on the magic too. Interested in continuing your support at the free $99 price? I love you for it. You can still engage with the show when you retweet, repost, and share the show and use hashtag A3 and the word DAY. You can also tag MULTIFACETEDACG to get my attention. And if you're listening to this podcast on a platform other than Anchor.fm, please leave a few stars or a review to keep things growing in the right direction.